Enchanted King and the Serpent Virgin. The old castle of Schildheis, set in the midst of a wild, nearly impassable landscape of forest and mountains in German Bohemia, a part of Czechia, had stood for centuries as a crumbling ruin. Wind and weather had broken its walls, trees and thickets grew from its foundations, and scarcely a soul dared to venture into the area. Yet long ago a wealthy lord, into whose possession the desolate lands had fallen, resolved to rebuild the castle and restore it to its former glory. When the master builder and his workmen examined the remains of the masonry, they discovered far more underground passages, cellars, and vaults than anyone had imagined. Deep shafts led down into darkness, and the air below was cold, still, and damp, as if something ancient and baleful lay in slumber there. In one of the largest vaults the men came upon a terrifying sight. Upon a throne sat a king with closed eyes, his body entirely covered in and gleaming with gemstones, as if he himself were part of a treasure. Long ago, for reasons unknown, he had been placed under an enchantment, and now lay in an eternal sleep. Standing motionless beside the king was a beautiful virgin, so otherworldly in appearance that she seemed not to belong to the mortal realm. She cradled the king's head gently, almost lovingly, in her hand as if it were to rest there for all eternity. But the men, driven by both curiosity and greed, ventured closer. Suddenly, the virgin transformed into a huge fire-breathing serpent. Hissing, she spewed forth flames, forcing the men to recoil in horror and flee in haste. They ran to their lord, breathless, and told him of what they had seen. Curious and unafraid, perhaps also driven by a secret ambition, he wished to see for himself. He descended into the vaults, accompanied by his dog, and before long he heard a faint heart-rending sigh, the voice of the virgin. With his loyal dog by his side, he stepped into another corridor of the vaults. At that moment, to his horror, he saw the massive serpent right beside him. In an instant it spat a roaring blast of fire at him, but the lord managed to dodge at the last moment, running forward to the end of the corridor. Dense smoke and searing flames chased after him, and he feared his dog, left behind, was lost. But when the flames subsided, he saw the virgin again in human form, holding the dog unharmed in her arms as though it were her dearest companion. Then she vanished around the corner with the animal. On the wall, the lord now noticed an ancient inscription. It warned of great doom that would befall anyone who disturbed the peace of this place. Yet he was bold by nature, and his pride urged him to see the adventure through. He followed the virgin, who was retreating slowly deeper into the winding corridors of the castle. At last she reached a vast hall deep in the vaults. There she turned to face him, and once again transformed into the giant fire-breathing serpent. With a furious hiss she hurled jets of flame toward him. He fell back, taking cover behind a thick wall, while the serpent advanced. As her massive body slid around the wall's edge and her head darted forward, the lord seized the moment. He leapt from hiding and thrust his sword with all his might into the creature's side. But the body was so hard and impenetrable that the blade could not pierce it. Instead, the sword lodged in the outer layer of her hide, causing no serious harm. In that instant the lord knew he was lost. He drew the sword back and held it before him in mortal terror, in one last desperate hope of keeping the serpent at bay, but of course it was useless. With a deafening hiss, the creature reared up, opened her jaws, and poured down upon him a blinding torrent of fire and molten heat so fierce that even the serpent's eyes began to glow. The lord gave a cry, and then the flames engulfed him, burning him to nothing until not a trace remained. The dog, however, survived. The serpent, or the virgin as she sometimes appeared again, took him with her into the depths of the vaults. For many years he lived at her side, well-fed and in a strange harmony with her, until he died of old age. But the virgin, so it is said, still roams the secret passages beneath Castle Schildheis to this day. Whoever hears a faint sigh in the ruined cellars or glimpses the shimmer of a white gown in the dark should beware, for none who draw too near to her return unharmed, if they return at all.